Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Reds Room, where we take an in-depth look at Cincinnati Reds memorabilia. I'm your host, Sean Sparks, and all the way from New Bremen, Ohio, my guest today and over the next two episodes is none other than Jay McCollum. Jay, welcome to the Reds Room.
Happy to be here, Sean.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
So before we get into these great items that you brought here for us today, and this is some really fantastic stuff, just kind of tell us what kind of got you involved in collecting to begin with.
Well, I mean, like most, I don't want to sound stereotypical, but boys, you go down to the Reds game, you want to get autographs from the players or see the players.
Sure.
So I'd go down to like one or two games a year with my parents and go down to the parking garage where at Old Riverfront you could hand stuff over the fence, or if it's small enough, through the fence.
Absolutely.
And get autographs that way.
Yep.
And at that time, you just get autographs on a notebook or a hat or
Anything
that what a kid would get, and you still see it
Yeah.
today, and
Yeah.
that's great for kids. Anything you get to meet your favorite player or just a player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember even buying like the little packs of cards. That
Oh,
folks stated
absolutely.
You try to get those signed or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Different time, different era. Although you still can get signatures. I mean, a lot of players do still come up.
Exactly.
Although they're more geared towards kids, I think now.
I think so too, and that's the way it should be.
I agree
When
with
I
that.
go to get autographs, if there's kids there, I say, hey, you guys go ahead, and then I'll go afterwards.
Right. Yeah. And now you and I, we've known each other 10 years or so, roughly, give or take.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny how it all came about.
Mm-hmm.
I think we met on a sports forum that I don't even think exists anymore, Pro Sports Daily, I believe it was.
I think that was it. Yeah.
And then the first year that the Caravan stop was at Wright-Patterson after the Frickers in Dayton
Yes.
burnt down. I sat down, just started talking to you, didn't even realize who you were, and I think your wife called,
Yeah.
and her name showed up, the last name and everything. I was like, waited till you were done talking, and
You rubbernecked my phone.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Stalking
Yeah.
101. But no, I looked over, I said, are you Sean Sparks? Yes. I said, I'm Jay McCollum, and I don't even remember what my username was, but I said what my username was on
Right.
on the thing, and it's just funny how that stuff works. It's a small world, especially in the collectible area.
Yeah. And we were, like I said, it was at the Caravan, right?
Right.
And it was, and it just, that's when we kind of learned that, hey, we also were collectors, not just Reds
Right,
fans.
exactly.
And it, like I said, it grew into that. And over the years, I think one of the things that I always found so interesting is how our collections have kind of mirrored each other.
Mm-hmm.
We started off, we had this friendly competition. We had hundreds and hundreds of signed baseballs.
Exactly.
Dating back to the, even back to like the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And we would compete. It was a friendly competition.
You would bid until you got to your level, then you'd share it with me.
That's right.
Yeah, friendly.
Well, yeah. And or you'd find something and you made sure you sent me a bunch of pictures of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that was fun, and we've kind of moved on to that and moved into some game use stuff, some really high end things here. So looks like we have here, getting into it, a game use Wally post hat, and this is the 60s, right?
This is actually from the National League Championship season of 1961.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Not from the World Series.
Yeah.
From my understanding, documentation that came along with it from Hunt Auctions and through Sports Gallery and Mark Fugate. The person that originally received it, Wally, handed it to him at Crosley Field during the season.
Oh wow, that's
So,
amazing.
amazingly, he had more than one hat back then.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you think about
No.
it, they have like 20 to 30 hats.
They have
the year.
tremendous. Yeah, they have a bunch of hats. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got one back then. That's right.
Right, one or two maybe, but
Yeah.
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 And this is obviously the home hat, and to give you a little bit of comparison, here's the vintage game used hat, and I'm actually wearing the style that the Reds wore
Yeah, you can see the
this
nice
year.
color.
I mean,
you can see the
this
color.
one's sweated up, this one's not quite yet.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the Reds made sure that you can't counterfeit it to be game used. You got the new era for what they use now, and then the MLB
Yeah.
patch on the back, and obviously these don't
Right.
have that.
And underneath here, and I'll show you a close-up of that, I believe it's the number 29
Yes.
is on that.
Because
And
he switched to 29 when he came back in 60 because arguably the best Reds player not in the Hall of Fame, tied with Davey probably, is Vada Pinson.
Yeah.
And Vada had claimed 28 when he came up.
absolutely. Well, that is a great hat. And obviously finding anything like this is extremely rare. So anyone out there looking or currently even collecting game used, if you're looking for really vintage things, this kind of stuff is not beyond even needle in a haystack. It's that hard to come by.
It's basically a needle in a pile of needles.
That's what it is, and that's a good reference there. But what would one expect to pay for something like this, or value wise?
Well, anything going back that far, like I said, the 1960s,
Yeah,
50s, 60s, of a player of any caliber for the Reds, like
Yeah.
Post, Bell, Klaczewski, Pinson,
yeah,
those guys. I mean, you're looking, if you want to get it for $100, $200, $300,
yeah.
step aside. You're not. I mean, it's.
Not even
I mean, we're talking four figures.
Up towards the lower four figures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And like
we're
I
not
said-
talking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a hat.
And you
but
really
we're-
need to know what you're looking for as far as the labeling goes, and anything. And I know, with my experience, and I'm sure I know with your experience, you want to talk to plenty of people to
Right,
make sure you're
absolutely.
getting something, because there can be a lot of fakes, a lot of question marks about
Especially with hats. I mean, with jerseys, so to speak, you have like the names stitched in,
Mm-hmm.
or it says set 1 in the year or set 2 in the year.
Yeah,
Maybe some tagging, but on hats, there's no saying that somebody couldn't have bought a hat like this back
Yeah.
in the day and then put the stamping in it.
that's right.
But I don't claim myself to be a game used expert
Right.
at all. So when it comes to the hat,
I think there are very few people that
Right.
should even make that claim.
right, exactly,
Right.
exactly. But authentication is key, and this has authentication from Hunt Auctions
Mhm.
from when the All-Star game in Cincinnati in 2015. This was in the live auction. I didn't win it back then, but opportunity came probably, I don't know, a few months ago,
Yeah.
earlier this year,
Yeah,
that Mr. Fugate at Sports Gallery offered me another item that I don't have with me, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I shared with you in person, the 1950s, 60s travel trunk,
right,
equipment trunk.
right.
And I jokingly sent the picture that I took of it at the Hall of Fame. I said, for X amount, could the hat go along for the road trip?
Yeah,
And then we negotiated from then, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sure enough, he graciously allowed me to add it to my collection.
yeah. Mark is a great guy. by the way.
Absolutely.
And if you've never been to Sports Gallery and you live in the Cincinnati area, make sure you stop by there.
I think they're on Smiley Road now.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Forest Park.
Great place to visit. So that's that. But let's get into this jersey here. Now, this, this is obviously a late. What this is a '69. Is that right?
Right. And obviously, Wally retired. Well, you may not know, but retired from baseball in '64
Correct.
with the Indians.
Yes.
So that doesn't really jive.
Right.
He never played for the Reds in '69, but that would be why this is actually not an original Wally Post jersey. It's a 1969 home Jack Fisher jersey.
Wow. Okay.
And it's been renamed and numbered for Wally to wear in old timers games. And I actually have a photo of him wearing this jersey in Dodger Stadium.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I
amazing.
think he's on third base,
Yeah.
and he's got his old 70s era glasses on.
Yeah. Glasses.
and
Yeah, I
it's
remember seeing.
not
photos.
exactly in playing shape, but
Yeah.
I know I would not fit into this jersey, so he was still in pretty good shape.
Yeah. And again, like when we're talking, let's turn this around so they can see at home. They can.
Well, I got, like I said, a lot of this stuff comes from collectors that are well known.
Right.
I mean, Mark is known as the owner of Sports Gallery.
Right.
but he's also known as one heck of a collector, has a heck of a collection.
Mm-hmm.
This jersey actually came from Dave Grove.
Oh, okay.
And I forget, I honestly don't remember how we came about this. I think I just asked him if he had any bats
Right.
of Wally, because I become resigned to the fact that I'm probably never going to, A, be able to afford a Wally Post jersey,
Mm-hmm.
B, be able to find one available.
Right.
Well, he told me, well, I don't have a playing era jersey, but I do have an old timer jersey. I said, I'm all ears.
There you
And
go.
at the time, I had Wally's 1961 players contract.
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue what I was going to do with it, how I was going to display it. I think it was in my actual possession for maybe a week before I loaned it to the Hall of Fame. So I offered him that in trade and a addition to some cash, and he countered back, and that's all I needed. I said, yeah, sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
And I called the Hall of Fame, said transfer it to Dave, and he called to confirm, and he actually sent this to me before he was able to get the contract. So,
Oh, right. That's a.
and as you can see, there's the R and I mean, you can see all the lettering from where Fisher's name was.
Yeah, if you're up close, you can. I don't know if it'll show well on here, but yeah, you can definitely see originally was a Pfister jersey. And what was the number?
I think it was 46, and you can see the
46.
4, but the 6 obviously is kind of
Much too
hidden
covered by
behind
the
the
8.
8.
Yeah.
And I think one of Wally's family members, I think it was one of his son-in-laws, told me that they have another, what they believe to be an old-timers jersey. He's not sure if it has his name on the back, and if it doesn't, this is the only jersey I know of that Wally would have worn, at least with the Reds, that
Right.
has his name on the back, because the Reds never had names on the back until, I think, 64.
Correct.
At the earliest, because I know Wally didn't have it in 63 when he was there for, he wasn't there that long,
Right.
63.
Okay, well, good. That's a great. And
then-
what would a jersey like this? This would be. This
This-
not being actual player era, it wouldn't be quite as
We're
much.
looking at about the same as what the hat would be.
The hat
If
would
you
be.
throw in trade and cash, it's probably about the same.
Okay.
Maybe a little less, but not too far off.
Okay. Now we do have one more jersey to show, real
Yes.
quick.
And actually, before, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
there,
no,
but,
you're fine.
I asked Dave if he knew of any other jerseys that are out there. He goes, actually, yes, I do. He worded it. He goes, this jersey's just covered in orange paint. And I said, oh, why would that be?
Yeah.
That just sounds ludicrous to me. He goes, well, apparently in the 50s and 60s, well, up until 70, they would wear old jerseys that aren't being used
Yeah.
as paint shirts when they painted the Crosley Field seats.
Oh, they would mow the grass in them and whatever. Yeah.
And that, I mean, as a collector now, that just astonishes me that they would do that. I
Yeah.
mean, can you see
Yeah.
the grounds crew today wearing a
Oh.
Joey Votto jersey?
No, well, not a game used one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, but that just goes to show how much things have changed in
Yeah.
50 years. Or so.
Exactly.
But let's take a look at that one, and we'll discuss it a little bit more.
Sounds good.
All right, so now let's take a look at this is a 52,
Yep, 1952 Road Gray.
yeah, Wally Post. And again, the same things apply. You know, you want to know what you're looking for. Now this, which I will show a picture of that, has his name
The
actually in the
script-
collar. Yeah,
Script post with his number,
right.
which would be 28 at the time in
Correct.
1952. The reason I had to think about that was I got his 1951 pants back at home. I didn't bring those along. And I guess I could have used Baseball Reference and known this, but
Mhm.
I've always known him to wear 28 and 29 for the Reds.
Right.
Well, the pants have the script post and
Mhm.
25.
Oh,
And that threw me through a loop. So I was like, man, I don't know. So I had to Baseball Reference it. And
Yeah.
sure enough, in 51, he did wear number 25.
25. Okay.
And in talking with his daughter, which I'll get to in later episodes,
Yeah.
she didn't even know that he wore 25.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but she
Wow.
was young when he was playing.
Right. And I mean, one of the things I find so amazing about these jerseys of this period is how thick and heavy, you know, they're flannels, unlike the knits that you see,
Absolutely.
you know, today and from the, you know, 90s and whatnot. But so thick that this thing would just be miserable to wear in the middle
Absolutely.
of August.
And if you think
You know.
about it, the weather hasn't gotten any
No,
cooler
no,
than what it was back
Right.
then. But they do have these little holes, and that probably takes care of everything.
yep, they have little breather air holes
Yeah.
in the armpits and whatnot. Let's turn this one around. Hopefully
And like I said, there was no name on the back of Reds jerseys until
yeah,
the mid '60s.
right.
And if you look here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little rectangle here. That's
Yeah.
where the tagging would be.
Yeah, and I love the color, how they used to highlight the red with the blue.
I-
I wish they would go back to something like that. But so, and you were talking about how you found this was just by due diligence, really, right?
Really, yeah. And just knowing that it's out there, not knowing where it is,
Right.
but by getting those pants,
Yeah.
I was able to find out where this jersey was
Correct.
through a fellow collector, and he told me about the other guy, and he warned me. He said this guy is hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Coming from another guy that's hard to get a hold of.
Right.
So I was like, oh, if he thinks he's hard to get a hold of, this is going to be interesting.
And if I recall correctly, 'cause I remember when you were in the process of trying to obtain this jersey here, I mean, it took a long time.
It did.
I mean, this wasn't something. It wasn't even that it was so much negotiation. It was just not only getting a hold of the guy, but also just kind of
He didn't really want.
him getting
He wasn't
comfortable.
ready to let go of it.
yeah. But you pursued it, and you did finally end up with
Well,
it.
and I kind of had the feeling that eventually it would come back, so I started putting pennies away,
Yeah. Yeah.
multiple pennies,
Yeah.
and he came back a lot sooner than I thought he would.
Correct.
So I wasn't ready to
Yeah.
make that purchase, but I was ready to say I was ready.
Yeah.
So I did what every boy would do. Hey, Dad, can I borrow some money?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did, and he generously came through for me, and since paid him back, and now this beauty is mine.
And I, without getting into specific numbers on something like this, I think it's fair to say that if you're looking at a jersey of a name of this caliber from this era, in this condition, and being authentic and everything, well up into the four figures.
Oh yeah,
You know.
close to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
4
exactly.
to 5, but yeah,
Um,
right in that range.
Yeah. If you can even never find one.
That
So-
one of my favorite quotes from Adam Walter: "Find me another one."
Find another one. That's right.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us. And one of the things I just want to mention real quick, I also think it's great that you, as a Wally Post collector, you live in the area where he's from.
Mm-hmm. I'm in New Bremen, Ohio, like you said earlier,
Right.
and he is from St. Henry,
Yeah.
born in Wendeline,
Yeah.
which is
Just a few miles, right?
yeah, it's basically your. I don't even know if it's
Yeah.
incorporated,
Yeah.
but it's in the St. Henry district, so to
And like I
speak.
said, we'll get more into your connection with the
Right.
Wally Post family. But I think it's great that you collect that stuff. You brought it back into the community of where
Right.
he's from. And, I just think that's fantastic. So, well, that's all the time we have here today. I hope you enjoyed this. And Jay will certainly be back. And until next time, happy collecting, everyone.